Stock market has lost $5 trillion in 3 weeks. Yes, Trump, he's the Ozempic of the economy. Wow, $5 trillion. Today, Greenland offered to buy us.
Donald Trump running the economy is like giving a toddler the nuclear codes, except the toddler might have better instincts. And Bill Maher? Oh, he's not holding back. In this wild rant, Maher rips into Trump's so-called business genius, exposing how the economy took a nosedive the second he grabbed the wheel. From ridiculous policy flip-flops to billionaire bootlicking, Maher's got receipts, and trust me, they're brutal. Did Trump really think bankrupting casinos was the warm-up act for tanking America? Stay tuned, because Maher's jokes hit harder than inflation under Trump's leadership. You won't believe what he says next.
One thing we've known about Trump for quite a while is that in the world, the countries that we traditionally liked, like England and France, those kind of places, he doesn't really like. And the people that we traditionally didn't like Saudi Arabia and Russia, he likes. For example, there's I'm sticking with the Union, the former Soviet Union. Unlike some people, he always says thank you. Europe, your ancestors left for a reason.
If there's one thing Donald Trump loves more than slapping his name on cheap steaks, shady universities, and gold-plated toilet seats, it's pretending he knows how the economy works. But according to Bill Maher, the only numbers Trump is good at managing are the ones on his golf scorecard. And even those are a little suspicious. Because the second Trump got his tiny ketchup-stained fingers on the economy, things didn't just go downhill, they got launched off a financial cliff faster than one of his bankrupt casinos.
Let's talk about how the Republicans have changed.
Oh.
You said in your special, Trump got the White House again, but he's not going to get your mind. How's that resolution holding up?
Not that well. I gotta say it lasted. Yeah. I also said I wouldn't pre-hate anything, which is true. I didn't pre-hate, but boy, does the hate come around quickly. Mm-hmm. I mean, has it been only a month? Yeah.
It's been 1 month.
1 month.
1 month.
I mean, I made a list. Like, here's what I already hate. Here's things I don't hate yet. There are things that, like, the idea that Gaza could be Dubai instead of this hellhole that it's been. Other people have suggested that by way of us taking it over. No. Starting a new American empire. No, this insanity of Zelensky as the dictator and
outrageous
opposite day kind of shit with the Western Alliance. So that resolution is being bad.
If you're enjoying, please subscribe. Maher wasted no time exposing the financial circus act that was Trump's economic leadership. That magical era where giving tax cuts to billionaires was supposed to help the middle class, but all it really did was give Jeff Bezos more yacht money while the average American debated which kidney to sell to afford gas. Because let's be real, when a guy who ran multiple businesses into the ground tells you he's going to make the economy great, maybe don't believe him. That's like trusting a raccoon to guard your lunch.
Trump says, I like reading as little as possible. I don't need, 200-page reports on something that can be handled on a page. He's actually proud that he makes decisions without learning anything, which makes him the perfect president for a nation perpetually looking at its phone.
Of course, Trump swore up and down that the economy was booming under his watch. And sure, it was booming. For hedge fund managers, corporate CEOs, and whoever was selling MAGA merch outside his rallies. Meanwhile, everyone else was watching their wages stagnate, their healthcare costs skyrocket, and their rent go up faster than Trump's legal bills. But according to him, everything was perfect. Amazing. The best economy ever. Kind of like how Trump says he's the fittest president in history, right before he wolfs down a cheeseburger with his bare hands like a raccoon in a dumpster.
Watch out for Canada, the quiet, polite neighbor you never suspect. Watch out for Canada, the quiet, polite neighbor you never suspect. I want you to cut dictators some slack.
Maher ripped into the ridiculousness of Trump's economic policies, highlighting how the so-called business genius ran the country the way he ran his casinos, into the ground, with a big fat bankruptcy at the end. The man lost money running a casino. A casino. That's like failing a breathalyzer test at an oxygen bar. It takes a special kind of talent to turn a business model designed to print money into a financial disaster. And somehow, he took that same level of brilliance and applied it to America's economy. The results? A national debt explosion, rising costs of living, and enough economic uncertainty to make a stockbroker break down in tears. Let's talk about those famous tax cuts. Oh, Trump promised they'd be a game changer for the middle class. Spoiler alert, they weren't. Because in Trump's world, middle class means anyone who owns at least one private jet. He handed out tax breaks to the ultra-rich like they were loyalty points at a failing casino, while the average American got just enough of a break to buy a second helping of ramen noodles. But don't worry, according to Trump, that money was going to trickle down eventually. Right. And Trump University was going to give people a real education.
What he's trying to tell us by continuing to do this dance. And now, making YMCA his anthem.
In reality, corporations use their tax windfalls for stock buybacks, not higher wages. Meanwhile, regular folks saw their tax refund shrink like a cheap t-shirt in the wash. But hey, Trump made sure billionaires could keep dodging taxes with loopholes big enough to drive a gold-plated limo through. And let's not forget, those cuts weren't permanent for the middle class. By 2027, they'll be paying more while the ultra-rich keep raking it in. Classic Trump. Sell the fantasy, cash in on the reality, and leave the mess for someone else to clean up. Bill Maher had an absolute field day pointing out Trump's obsession with the stock market. In Trump's mind, if the Dow Jones was up, the economy was perfect. But here's the problem. The stock market isn't the economy. That's like saying your Instagram likes determine your health. Just because rich people were making more money didn't mean working people were doing better. In reality, wages were stagnant, healthcare was a nightmare, and housing was so unaffordable that even monopoly players were going broke. But Trump kept pointing at the stock market like it was some kind of magic scoreboard. And when it crashed, crickets. Not a word. Just a bunch of tweets about how it wasn't his fault. Because if there's one thing Trump is consistent about, it's blaming everyone else for his messes.
Yes, it turns out that the stock market has really kind of rejected the notion that if we turn on our trading partners, chickens would lay more eggs. Yeah, I mean, when Biden was president, it was everything about the eggs, the price of eggs. We got to lower the price of eggs. And now Trump retweeted somebody last week who said, "Shut up about the eggs."
And then there's the trade war. Oh boy. Nothing like watching Trump try to negotiate international trade agreements like a guy haggling over bootleg DVDs in a parking lot. Maher had no problem reminding everyone that Trump's big idea to fix trade involves slapping tariffs on everything that moved, without a single clue about how tariffs actually work. Because here's the thing. When you tax imports, American businesses and consumers pay the price. It's like setting your own house on fire and calling it an innovative heating strategy. But Trump sold it as a win, and his supporters cheered. Meanwhile, farmers were losing their livelihoods, businesses were struggling, and anyone who tried to explain basic economics to Trump got that signature vacant stare, like a goldfish trying to do calculus. Of course, it wouldn't be a Trump economic discussion without mentioning his favorite topic, himself. According to Trump, no one had ever done a better job running the economy. Not Obama, not FDR, not even Alexander Hamilton, who literally invented America's financial system. Just Trump, the guy who couldn't make a profit selling vodka to Americans, the guy who bankrupted an airline, the guy who lost money running a casino. Again, a business where the house is supposed to win. But sure, he was the financial genius of the century.
And Americans are like, but we need eggs. What else are we going to throw at the Teslas? know what? $5 trillion in 3 weeks, and we have only ourselves to blame. Trump said this would happen if we re-elected Biden. Oh, wait, that didn't happen. No, this is happening because Trump wants to bring back manufacturing, and to get the ball rolling, he is manufacturing a recession.
Maher also didn't hold back on Trump's personal business successes, which were about as stable as his spelling, in a late-night tweet. Remember Trump Airlines? No? That's because it lasted shorter than one of his press secretaries. How about Trump Steaks? The finest cuts of meat money can buy, if you enjoy eating shoe leather. And let's not forget Trump University, where the only thing people graduated with was a lighter wallet and a lesson in spotting scams. But despite all of this, Trump still insists that he's a self-made billionaire. Never mind the millions he inherited from his father, or the countless bailouts, or the fact that his main talent seems to be losing money while convincing people he's winning. He talks about business like he talks about his weight, completely detached from reality. And Maher, he's had enough of it, because no matter how many times Trump brags about his economic miracle, the reality remains. It was all smoke, mirrors, and a whole lot of unpaid bills.
What is he trying to tell us? And I'm not saying Donald Trump is secretly gay. It doesn't look like much of a secret. No, I'm kidding. I don't think he is gay. Quite the contrary. I think the message to his manosphere is that he's so masculine that he can literally jerk off 2 guys at once while dancing to the Village People and still be considered a masculine icon.
Now fast forward to the aftermath of Trump's reign, and what do we have? A wrecked economy, skyrocketing national debt, and enough financial disasters to keep late-night comedians employed for the next decade. The supposed business genius, who ran on his ability to make America rich again, left office with record deficits, a gutted middle class, and a tax cut that benefited the ultra-wealthy while leaving the rest of the country scrambling to keep up with inflation. Bill Maher summed it up best. Trump treated America's economy like his own personal plaything, a toy to be broken and discarded, while he moved on to the next con. His presidency was essentially a real-life version of one of his many failed business ventures. Make big, flashy promises, ignore all the warning signs, and then, when everything collapses, blame someone else and walk away. Except this time, instead of bankrupt casinos and fraudulent universities, the victims were everyday Americans.
He plays Let's Spin the Big Tariff Wheel. Woo! Round and around she goes. Where she stops, nobody knows. And every day, Trump puts these amazingly large tariffs on other countries, and when the countries respond with their tariffs, he acts shocked at their disrespect. How dare you do to me what I just did to you?
And the best part? He still insists he's the guy to fix everything that he broke. That's like an arsonist asking to be the fire chief. He's out here peddling the same tired rhetoric, claiming that only he can restore prosperity, conveniently forgetting that the last time he was in charge, he ran the economy into the ground. It's the ultimate grift. Break it, sell the illusion that only you can repair it, and then, when it inevitably collapses again, just rewrite history and convince your followers that it was someone else's fault. Meanwhile, his cult-like base eats it up, convinced that the man who gave billionaires massive tax breaks while their wages stagnated is somehow their savior. It's a masterclass in political gaslighting. The economy is in shambles, and Trump's solution? More of the same reckless policies that led to this mess in the first place. But hey, who needs facts when you've got a never-ending supply of slogans and scapegoats?
Just a mind? Yeah, I'm getting Donald Trump for my birthday. I keep saying, God, why? And then I go, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. The last 25 years I've been making fun of you on TV. That's way. Okay. That's that little unreligious. You hated that too. I remember. Okay. All right. Everywhere.
So here we are, watching Donald Trump strut around like some kind of economic messiah, taking credit for every good thing that ever happened while conveniently ignoring the financial disasters tied directly to his decisions. He's out there rallying his base, promising a golden age of prosperity again, like the first time wasn't riddled with record deficits, corporate tax giveaways, and a trade war that did more harm than good. And let's not forget, while he brags about a supposedly booming economy, he conveniently leaves out the part where his reckless policies set the stage for disaster. Enter Bill Maher, armed with nothing but facts, sharp wit, and an utter lack of patience for nonsense. Maher has made a career out of exposing hypocrisy, and Trump's economic fairy tales are like a never-ending comedy special written just for him. Maher sees through the bluster and the gaslighting and isn't afraid to point out the obvious. Trump's economic legacy isn't one of strength, but Maher has made a career out of exposing hypocrisy, and Trump's economic fairy tales are like a never-ending comedy special written just for him. Maher sees through the bluster and the gaslighting and isn't afraid to point out the obvious. Trump's economic legacy isn't one of strength, but of smoke and mirrors. He reminds us of the ballooning national debt, the tax cuts that primarily benefited the wealthy, and the disastrous trade policies that hurt more American farmers and businesses than they helped.
That you were like taking people to task, as I think you should, for who like would boycott Donald Trump, and you said, but if he wanted to come on your show, you would have him on.
Of course.
Because you said it's important to talk to important people.
Yes.
But I would add this.
Yeah.
If you are going to have him on, he's a politician.
Yeah.
I know he's actually a game show host from Queens. But now he's the president of the United States. So if you're going to have him on, this is everybody, hold his feet to the fire.
You mean literally?
Oh, if you could. Would that
But, of course, Trump's strategy has never been about facts. It's been about spectacle. He's a master of spinning failures into successes, of rewriting history while his supporters nod along. It's all part of the show. And Maher, he's got a front row seat, popcorn in hand, calling out every absurd claim, every ridiculous boast, and every outright lie. Because if there's one thing Trump is truly great at, it's giving comedians endless material. And if there's one thing Maher excels at, it's making sure the world never forgets just how ridiculous the whole Trump economy experiment really was. Through biting monologues and brutal punchlines, he holds up a mirror to the madness, making sure we remember that the so-called best economy ever was built on a shaky foundation of debt, deregulation, and deception. Because history has a funny way of repeating itself, especially when people fall for the same con twice. And Maher, he's here to make sure we never forget just how laughable and dangerous Trump's version of economic genius really was.